Welcome back to the Cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and in this video, I'll be showing you exactly why we have a warning signal for Bitcoin holders right now. This video will show you all of my next Bitcoin price targets and my current Bitcoin strategy. So definitely make sure you're watching all the way to the end of this video so that you're not missing out on any of this valuable information. And just before we jump into it, make sure to drop a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame. And the first thing to say is clearly Bitcoin is still in a very strong uptrend. There's no denying that we're in an uptrend here, at least on the 4-hour time frame, but that's also the case on the daily time frame, as we have officially broken this previous high on the daily chart. This is huge for Bitcoin holders. And also on the weekly time frame, we've officially just made a brand new higher high on the weekly chart, which, as you guessed it, is extremely bullish. But with that being said, even though we are in an uptrend can contain short-term pullbacks along the way. For example, this previous downtrend during September contained some small bullish pushes to the upside in the middle of the downtrend. And we are potentially starting one of those pullbacks right now. At the time of this video, Bitcoin has already had around a 3% pullback, which at the moment is not really anything crazy. And honestly, I do not expect a whole lot of bearish price action, because obviously when we're in an uptrend, the bullish price action is much larger than the bearish price action. And now that you're up to speed, let's get into the reasons why we could be potentially seeing a little bit of a short-term pullback. First of all, on the 4-hour chart, what we can see in the price oscillators is, of course, the RSI is currently in overbought territories. And it's worth mentioning that especially in a bull market, we can stay in overbought territories for quite some time. But usually when the RSI becomes overbought, that's just a sign that we are due for a little bit of a cool off sometime soon in the Bitcoin price. And also looking at the MACD, at the time of filming this video, we're still technically speaking trending to the upside, but we're getting close towards a potential bearish cross. Now, once again, this isn't extremely important. For example, back here, we had a bearish cross only a couple of days ago, and you can clearly see back then that only resulted in pretty much a sideways consolidation before more bullish price action later on. So it's important to remember that a short-term cool-off doesn't necessarily mean a crash to the downside. It could simply mean just slight bearish price action, or even just a range to the side, just something that's a bit of a cool-off from the current trend that we're seeing so that we can push higher and higher later on. And now jumping over to the daily time frame for Bitcoin, what we can see here is clearly we've just touched overbought areas on the daily RSI. Meanwhile, the daily MACD is still showing a lot of bullish momentum to carry this uptrend forward. And the setup that we're seeing right now in the price oscillators and in the current Bitcoin price is actually very similar. And it reminds me of the price action that we saw at the very end of July leading into the beginning of August. That was this peak right here. As you can see, that came after one of Bitcoin's most bullish moves we've had in the history of Bitcoin, actually, in terms of consecutive green days. And that saw the RSI go from these lows just here up towards slightly overbought areas. And during that time, the MACD was still showing a strong uptrend, strong bullish momentum, carrying the trend further to the upside later on. It's just in the short term, we were due for a little bit of a short-term pullback, especially after all of that bearish price action that we just experienced. And so I'm sure you can clearly now see the similarities between right now and back then at around the end of July. We've already seen quite a lot of bullish price action over the past 1 week approximately, and that's brought the RSI from these lows down here up towards slightly overbought territories on the daily time frame. Meanwhile, we're seeing the same sort of things in the MACD as well, showing that the underlying trends, the bullish momentum here is still very strong. Even though we could experience a little bit of a short-term pullback, that shouldn't really change the current trends that we are in, considering the extremely significant levels that Bitcoin has just broken above, and the fact that we've obviously formed a brand new higher high. And on top of all of that, the current Bitcoin price has just run into this huge volume cluster on the VP-VR indicator. The middle of this volume cluster is coming in at around 56,500 US dollars, and so far Bitcoin has reached up towards around 55,500, nearly 56k, which is also interesting because if you're bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from the all-time high down to this swing low at around 29k, what we can see here is the 78.6% Fibonacci level coming in at around 57k. So we've got a lot of confluence around 56 to 57,000, which is pretty much where the Bitcoin price has just run into. And even though I haven't mentioned the VP-VR indicator for a couple of days now on the channel, I have been mentioning that 78.6% Fibonacci level as potentially some short-term resistance for Bitcoin. But also it's important to consider that the 78.6% Fibonacci level is actually not as important as the golden pocket. So I've been saying that yes, we could find some short-term resistance at around 56, 57k, but I don't expect that resistance to hold very long. And if you're combining all of that with the current Bitcoin funding rates across all of these exchanges right now, they are looking a little bit more positive than normal. So it's not impossible for the Bitcoin price to head a little bit higher before we start a little bit of a short-term cool-off, because these funding rates have definitely been higher than they are right now. But with that being said, the more positive they are, the more bearish they are. And right now, they are more positive than normal. They're just not extremely positive. So this is basically showing us that we are due for some sort of bearish price action, or not necessarily bearish price action, just a little bit of a cool-off, a little bit of a slowed uptrend just in the immediate short term. I want to make that clear because I am still very bullish on Bitcoin over the coming months. So keep that in mind. But probably the biggest warning signal in this video that I have to tell you guys about is, of course, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, because right now we are showing extreme greed. And of course, the subscribers on this channel would already know that this was actually about to happen. I've been letting you guys know day after day over the past few days on the channel, saying that if Bitcoin just keeps heading to the upside and further to the upside without a pullback, then we're going to reach these extreme greed levels a lot faster than what we would if we had a short-term pullback along the way. And traditionally speaking, when we reach extreme greed, that is when we're technically at higher risk of a little bit of bearish price action to come. Now, it's important to mention as well that this doesn't tell us exactly when the bearish price action will come, and it doesn't tell us exactly how big or how long the bearish price action will last for. It just simply tells us that we are due for some sort of pullback, or at least a cool-off in the Bitcoin price sometime soon, probably within the next week or so. And for the longer-term subscribers out there, this is absolutely nothing new for you, because if you remember, pretty much exactly 1 month ago in the beginning of September, I was letting you guys know 1 month ago that we were seeing extreme greed, and I was saying, hey, that is a sign that we are due for some sort of bearish price action sometime soon. And if you're looking at 1 month ago, that was right here just before we got some bearish price action. And on the flip side, anytime we see extreme fear during those times, I constantly let you guys know that I am buying the most amount of Bitcoin at those levels. And I was saying that just last week when we were sitting in extreme fear according to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. And that was when the Bitcoin price was down here towards around $40,000. I was letting you guys know on the channel at that stage that yes, we might still be in a bit of a downtrend here, technically speaking, but because we were seeing extreme fear at that stage, I was dollar cost averaging quite heavily into the Bitcoin price at that stage just there. And also going back further on this channel, I was letting you guys know down towards $30,000 per Bitcoin that we were in extreme fear at that stage just there. And I was buying Bitcoin like crazy at those levels. I was accumulating a lot of Bitcoin down towards $30,000 simply because the market was sitting in extreme fear at that stage. So this indicator is pretty reliable, at least as far as my experience goes. And so to summarize this indicator, basically right now it is showing extreme greed, which means we are due for some sort of cool off sometime soon, probably within the next week. Now, with all of that being said, it's totally not impossible for Bitcoin to head a little bit higher, because nothing is guaranteed in these markets. I want to make that clear as well. We're just simply seeing a few different signs on the market that we could be having a little bit of a short-term cool-off before eventually the uptrend kicks in again. So I am definitely still leaning much more bullish on Bitcoin over the next few weeks and months leading into the end of this year, considering that we've just broken into a brand new higher high. We do not do things like that if we are looking bearish. So the potential bearish price action that I would be considering is possibly something like what we saw in the very beginning of August. As you can see here, that came after that very bullish move. And we saw the similar signs in these price oscillators and all of that sort of stuff as what we saw just now. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that correction lasted for around 4 days before the uptrend kicked in again. And by the way, the size of that correction from the week high to the week low was only around 12% to the downside, so nothing crazy. And that actually made for an amazing buying opportunity in the middle of the uptrend, and potentially an opportunity to stack up a long position. Obviously, that's not financial advice, and in fact, this is a little bit of speculation because there's no way on knowing for sure what a short-term call-off will look like. All we know is just the fact that we're showing signs of a short-term call-off, similar signs to what we were showing back here. And don't forget as well that we've still broken out of this huge cup and handle pattern, one of the biggest Bitcoin patterns that we've formed in years. So this is still incredibly bullish for the Bitcoin price leading into the next few months of price action. And perhaps a short-term cool-off in the Bitcoin price could possibly just turn into a retest of these previous resistance levels. And I'm not saying that we're definitely going to see that, but I'm saying that if we do see that, and especially if we bounce along these levels just here, that will actually confirm this pattern as officially broken out. Obviously, we've already broken out, but having a retest is extra confirmation of the breakout. And so even though in the imminent short term, if you're looking on like the 1 hour chart, it might look bearish, but on the big picture here, that would be incredibly bullish, and that will further be confirming the price target to the upside out of this pattern, which by the way, if you've missed my last couple Bitcoin update videos, that price target is coming in at around 78,000 $1,000 US per Bitcoin. So seriously, a short-term pullback here could possibly be one of the last opportunities that you might get before a lot more bullish price action leading in towards the end of this year. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out, to see if we do end up seeing that short-term cool-off. And obviously, the sooner we see that short-term cool-off, the sooner we can get it out of the way and start the uptrend again. And if you enjoyed this video or got something valuable out of this video, make sure to drop a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this one every single day. And also make sure you're sharing these videos around with your friends and family, due to the fact that right now we are potentially starting one of the last major opportunities before much more bullish price action starts kicking in. So there's seriously never been a better time to share these videos around with your friends to get everyone involved in this amazing opportunity. And also don't forget to follow me over on my Twitter, because on my Twitter I post all of these extra updates throughout the day. If anything crazy is happening in the markets, I keep you guys updated in real time on my Twitter. And the link to my Twitter, by the way, is in the description down below. So definitely check that one out. But anyway, that's just about everything I have to say for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.